Welcome in. I'm Aaron King with Photog Adventures, and we're going to talk about those challenges that you face with the September Milky Way, but some of the benefits, especially if you enjoy sleep. September's a good month to go out. I love Milky Way photography, and when I look through some of my most favorite images, you see already that there's a problem with my own biases. I mean, check this out. My absolute favorite Milky Way capture, I did this in March. This one was in June as well, May, and this last one was in Oregon in June. So you kind of see a lot of problems here with some of my favorite images. They all don't have a vertical. Only recent, in the last couple years, have I created images that are vertical Milky Ways that have become some of my favorites. And it starts off with the really cool Hoodoo Village image right here, where I've got some low-level lighting and a vertical Milky Way, as well as this one with no low-level lighting and just a long exposure on the rock, an exposure for the sky, and you can see how a vertical Milky Way can be terrific. This image was taken in September 2020, so this is an exact image of what you can expect of a Milky Way at this time of year. So let's check out first the timings of the Milky Way. Let's get familiar with where and how we should handle this over on Photo Pills. On the Moon Pill immediately here in Provo, Utah, I see it's Thursday, September 1st, right? If you've never heard this before, check out, come up here. This section, this is a link for an old video I created talking about this in more detail. You can check out how to plan your Milky Way with Photo Pills right here. But quickly, just looking at tonight, I know that the Milky Way core is going to be visible after the sunset, and it's going to be at 9:34. Okay. Visible already at 9:34. What's going on with the moon? The moon has risen at 12:26 p.m. and it's going to set at 10:46. An hour and 10 minutes of waiting for the moon to be gone. 9:34 until when? Let's click over here to the next day, Friday, September 2nd. My galactic center visibility, that exact dot in the center, I'll show you that later, is going to set at 12:39 a.m. All right, what's left at that point? Do I finish at 12:39? My moon was setting at 10:46, so if the Milky Way is visible till 12:39, that's just 2 hours. Is it worth going where I want to go for 2 hours? Okay, all right, let's think about this. So I know that I have 2 hours after the moon has gotten out of my way to still capture the Milky Way before it has technically set. Well, let's look more into what technically set means over here on Stellarium. So we're going to use Sagittarius A East to show off this exact position of the Sagittarius A asterisk, a radio signal that is the center of our galaxy. So when people say the Milky Way core has set, they're talking about this part of it. And so when I go back to when it said what? 12:39, it's saying that here, this has fully set by 12:39. Boom, there it is, underneath the horizon. When that goes down to that point, what do you still have visible? Let's bring back our terrain. You have all of this. Let's get rid of our lines. Look at all that you can capture in the night sky. There is no point that this is boring. It just goes down fast from this point. Watch as the hours go forward to 1. That's already quite a lot of movement. 2. Now we're talking a pretty fat part of the Milky Way band has gone under the horizon. And by 3 a.m., you're really fighting to bring out any sort of detail or information. Like, you will see it. You track that, you'll have tons of information as well as really cool nebulosity. You're going to have really neat stars and some light, and it will be cool and worth it. However, this is definitely lesser than this. And both are when they're technically Milky Way core has been set. So there's a lot to love about this Milky Way going forward. So that is a challenge dealing with the Milky Way that's setting. That's a September challenge, one that we had in August and July, but it happened much later. And every month after September, it just gets earlier and earlier in the night. So that is one of the benefits. Imagine that you have work the next day and you don't have a free open schedule like I do sometimes, where you can just go out, be out all night, and then sleep in until 12 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm trying to kind of humble bragging there that I can sleep in sometimes in the morning. I'm sorry. But if you don't have a schedule like me, then you're doing what I used to do in 2016, where you're blitzing out, doing Milky Way photography, and putting your tie on for work while you drive in after an all night being out, and you're pretty useless at work that day. So, yeah, this time of year is terrific. You don't have as much laborious all-nighters required in order to do Milky Way photography. I mean, check it out. I love Antares and the Rho Ophiuchi complex. This whole section of stars, I mean, look at how gorgeous this is. If you use a star tracker, oh boy, does it sing. So that looks awesome, including with your Milky Way core, and it's kind of the anchor for me. I anchor my edge of my frame on a panorama after the Antares Rho Ophiuchi complex. If it's for vertical Milky Way, I do the same thing. The moon set at 10:46. So I'm looking at the moon's finally set. I've got my Antares. I have my window, no moon, and the Rho Ophiuchi. And let's just go for a few minutes of capture all the way until, all right, about 11 o'clock at night. My favorite version of the Milky Way core is gone. If you favor the same thing I favor, then you're going to probably think the same way and be done by midnight at the latest. Really early time in the night to be done, especially for Milky Way photographers. If you've done this ever before, you know that that's awesome. I can get driving home. I can even drive really far knowing that I can go to sleep and then drive a couple hours that I was finished by midnight. It's pretty terrific in September for early nights. We need to consider our next challenge, composition. When you're talking about composition, it's really easy for me to talk about some of the typical benefits of composition layout, where you think, okay, I'm going to frame the Milky Way in between something like a man-made object like this, or put the Milky Way in between some rocks like this one. And this turned out terrific. So composition is going to be your second great challenge in this season of Milky Way. You're going to have to deal with balancing out a vertical with something. I like to talk about my 5 compositional tips. As you notice, this is kind of focused on an early season Milky Way, a tipped Milky Way, a panorama Milky Way, a Milky Way that's tipped at a 45-degree angle, another panorama, and another tipped 45. I admit to being entirely biased towards the Milky Way pre-July. From the beginning of the season to July, those are my favorite months of Milky Way photography. So considering that composition is going to be tight, I'm going to show you some example images where it has gone well and okay. There's first image here. It is terrible. This is Bandon, and we're near the Howling Dog, poorly well lit by the city and making all of that low-level lighting challenge just completely gone. You can't even begin to try and light these better, and you can't do anything but deal with the orange gaudy light. It's just, I hate this, but this image is a good example of how it can possibly work. So look at how this Milky Way is tipped off to the right, all right? We're looking at Vega, Deneb, and Altair right here. So the summer triangle is all visible inside this image. So that's how far back my wide angle at 15 millimeter was able to see in vertical orientation. So you see right above you all the way down to the horizon. And this part right here is all blocked by a marine layer that night that you can't see any detail. The Rho Ophiuchi is long gone. And even at that part where the Milky Way is still visible, it's just a little bit underneath the core, or a little underneath the horizon. That rest of the Milky Way struggles being pulled out and being visible. All right, so I've shown you this example first. Let's look at some of the other successful examples of how this can work. Here, I showed you this image, Hoodoo Village, captured earlier in the season. This was July, and so this Milky Way still tipped a little bit, but it balances out with one of my compositional tips, the tip of weight on the left. When you're working with weight on the left, it's because the core is tipped over and you have an empty negative space around the Milky Way that you're filling up. In this image, our negative empty space is over here, and we just left it empty as the terrain kind of tips up and leans up into the sky. We play around with this giant rock because it has a lean to it. If that lean, or honestly, let's be honest, if this terrain right here allowed us to go more to the right, we would have put this kind of neat Hershey Kiss pancake rock on the left side of the core and worked with it that way. If we wait longer for the Milky Way to move to the center, it would be over this light pollution bloom from Hurricane Utah. So if you're going to go and capture from here, you have to deal with what the terrain is giving you. And all around John and me right here, this is a drop off. We can't go to the right any further. Look at this one. This was in early season, May, waiting until the very end of the night with the moon rising on us. It made it a little bit kind of blue, but it's also heavy on the green air glow. And this is my second year of doing Milky Way photography. So this image came from Escalante down in Devil's Garden. Brendan and I call these the Adventure Pinnacles because we love them. And it's just a giant big pinnacle here and another complementary one just kind of offset. And this is perfect to show off breaking the plane of the thirds, the rule of thirds. Right here, you can see how the rule of thirds breaks the image up in thirds horizontally and vertically. And so you want objects that carry into the other area, the other plane segments. And so if you have the subject that's here and breaks the plane like this silo, it's far more interesting than it would be otherwise. Here, I love this image. Weight is entirely on the left, Milky Way's on the right, using up all of this space that's open for starry Milky Way band. Right here, you're looking at an area that's in light pollution and a very heavy focus on that lower half because of these really cool cracks. This is my first year of Milky Way photography, and focusing on that vertical Milky Way, I went completely center weighted, right from the interesting foreground subject of this bush that I lit to all the cracks going all the way to the back, right into the vertical Milky Way. Lastly, this is a shot from August. Now, I captured this at a high ISO to show how 12,800 ISO can work on a Canon 6D camera. Compositionally, when you look at this, you can see that I went with the line of the horseshoe bend here around gooseneck, and as this line leads up into the core, that became my balance. That became my motivation to wait for this particular angle of the Milky Way. I could have waited later and it would have moved off this position and not balanced as strongly as it does with this full flowing line. So typical compositional tips, things that you have probably done already in many of your photography, but you're going to be dealing with a vertical Milky Way now. And so here's some examples of how you can tackle it and make it look awesome. All right, before I let you go, we've only talked about tonight and the coming up Milky Way. I've been mentioning photo pills this whole time, but you can still use Planet, and it's fantastic, and it has a calendar that gives you that answer really instantly. You look at this and see, oh, you know what? I have an opportunity with at least 2 hours of Milky Way on the first, second, and third. Those are 2 hours of Milky Way opportunity. But then I'm looking at the 13th and I start to have opportunity where I have less than 2 hours, but it's still some. And then starting on the 16th and 17th, look at that, I've already started having more than 2 hours of Milky Way core opportunity, and it continues all the way through to the 29th. And so this view on the calendar really helps you see right here how strong the month can be. And September is brilliant despite being a vertical Milky Way that's barely in the sky very long. So get out there, have an adventure of your own, and enjoy the Milky Way photography. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments down below. Hey, Aaron, how can I capture that? Recently, someone asked me about goosenecks. Hey, when did you stay up until the morning for that gooseneck shot to have light on the river? Ask me any question you want in the comments down below. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time on the Milky Way Almanac. You still here? Cool, awesome. Check out this video right there and this video right there. And if you want to subscribe and haven't subscribed yet, please hit that button. But here, right here, you can join me on a workshop and go do some Milky Way photography out in Utah, Oregon, Nevada, California. Come join me for a Milky Way photography workshop. Click on the button down there. Thanks so much.